OpenAI just released its first browser. Now, this is exciting news. It's called ChatGPT Atlas. It's not the first AI browser I've ever been excited about, and in fact, I've been daily driving AI browsers for quite a while now. But it is the first one that makes me think, this feels very natural, not bolted on, and it brings AI into my daily browsing experience, which is pretty much everything I do. In this video, we'll explore whether or not this is just another AI experiment, or is Atlas the browser that's going to bring AI into your everyday life? Let's dive in. Okay, ChatGPT, you're coming from my browser. You gotta at least be able to browse. So the first thing we're gonna really take a look at, and this is gonna be kind of a jump cut solution to get through all of these moving parts, because there's a lot of parts to a browser, is it a reasonable browser? So let's dive into some of the parts of this new Atlas browser as just a browser. Okay, here we are. This is the browser. When you launch Atlas, you'll see a big field where you can type in anything you like, and it is either a ChatGPT request or a URL or something else that you might go directly to on the web. As you can see on their welcome screen, it will have kind of contextualized information. And also, it is putting you into a mode to ask conversations on an instant model. We'll talk about the instant model in a second when we get to talking to ChatGPT, but I want to call that out an extra time here because this might be something that's important to us. Let's put a quick search in. Let's say we're looking for the Bose Quiet Comfort Ultra headphones. All right, so the first thing I want to say is this is just a normal search area. If I hit enter, it takes us to what looks a little bit like ChatGPT with search results today, but there's some new stuff here that we need to talk about very briefly. The Home tab is the one that you find yourself on. It's ChatGPT's results. If it's a web query, you'll see that they have the results up here at the top. They have the sources listed down at the bottom, and also their whole write-up here is kind of itemized by the different locations that they found information. So it's in line. You can go to each one of these elements that might have talked about certain parts of what you're looking for, okay? The next thing over is a search tab, images tab, videos tab, and news tab. This is brand new from a ChatGPT experience standpoint, but this is, I think, their new search result experience. If we go to the search tab, you'll see that these search results are driven by Google, and they are very fast and the quality of results that you're used to from a Google standpoint. Same thing for the images, videos, as well as news, but that's search. Okay, let's say that you really don't want to spend that much time searching. That's the majority of what we do with this field is just typing in information to get results, but sometimes I really know what I'm looking for already, like history of dogs, and I don't really want ChatGPT to take over and do the things. I'm going to hold down the Command key on a Mac. This Atlas browser is only available on a Mac today. They are trying to ship for Windows and mobile soon. That's one of the things that they announced. So if you're a Mac user, you can install it today and get started with it. I'm going to use the Command key, likely the Control key when it comes to Windows, and hit enter. Instead of just hitting enter, I'll hit Command enter. When I do that, this is a special keystroke that you can use. It does a Google search immediately. So instead of going to ChatGPT for the results, you can go directly to Google. I think that's a really cool add-in that they've given you just for those moments where you're saying, I don't really want to have a conversation about this or have to deal with the time that it takes to load the extra information. I just want the first result. Another quick thing that they added here is I can type in Amazon and hit space. If I hit space, you'll see that it shifts over to an automatic kind of search system. So if I look for shoes, it will go directly to that site and do a search with that site. So let's go back, take a look. I'm going to pull up the settings for a second, and you'll notice inside of web browsing, you can go down to site search engines. In the site search engines, they have a whole bunch of them already set up. This is where that Amazon hook is set in here. You'll see that I typed in Amazon and then space, that's the key. They also put a second one in for AZ. So if I use AZ space, it will work. If you want a different shortcut, you can put any shortcut in here you want or any URL where you usually search. Just a cool tip. Lots of browsers have had this kind of thing in the past, but I bet lots of people don't know about it. So of course, if I do AZ space, done. We've got Netflix and everything at your fingertips. Okay, when searching for something in the ChatGPT experience, which is just the standard search these days, you will get the results up at the top, which if we've already clicked on, those go directly to the page itself. If we click on one, it'll take us to the page. If we come back, we notice that there's all of these references inside of the results that we get back. Any of those references actually do one of the coolest tricks of this browser. So what I will say is, let's just pretend instead of completely jumping over to the Wikipedia site, what we wanted to do is jump over to the Wikipedia site and keep this information here. So let's say we weren't sure which one of the results we wanted to jump into. We can go into kind of a side panel or a dual panel experience where what you're clicking on the right will load in the left, and you can continue to have conversations about that. We will talk about this page conversation mode in a second, but it's really neat to see that what's happening inside of this panel, depending upon the kind of resource that you're clicking, either goes to full screen or it goes into the side panel mode. And the way to identify that right now is the items at the top, the actual search results themselves, are full page, and these items down here, those go into this side panel page, which is really cool. Now, admittedly, of course, you can have conversations here and you can keep clicking different ones and it will take over the left panel itself as you keep moving through the list. And that really is a quick way to jump through. If you searched for the 5 best somethings, give me 12 recipes or something like that, those resources you could just start loading up on the side and use this as a kind of a table of contents. Okay, let's talk a little bit about history. Let's say if I search for iZombie and I just start typing that in, as you might expect, the sites that we were just on pop up here at the bottom, but also history of your browser experience is also here. So if I search for shoes that I've looked at, you'll notice that it searched the browser memories. We'll take a look at those in a second as well, but these are the different pages of the shoes that I have looked at, which is very cool. So it's actually pretty useful to be able to say, show me that thing I was looking at yesterday. Okay, just a couple tent poles around the application itself. There is a left panel that you can pull out at any time. It's essentially your chat history and basically ChatGPT for you, just like you're used to seeing. And on the right side, you can pull out the other panel, which is the conversational panel. The conversational panel really brings us to a whole set of new features, which is you're carrying AI around everywhere you go, and you really should get used to using it because it's got some real superpowers. So let's dive into the actual features that make this a ChatGPT browser. I would say, generally, from just a browsing standpoint, it's really great. It's a Chromium browser. It uses extensions like other Chromium browsers, pretty much what you're used to from a browser these days. It's got almost all of that. They are moving forward. There's a few things that it's still kind of short on. It doesn't have grouped tabs. It doesn't have multiple profiles. There's some things. It's a day one on this, so I don't think they're really done cooking it, but it really has the vast majority of what you need from a browser and certainly worth using it as your second browser to just try it out. Okay, we've got to talk about really the gorilla in the room. This one is the actual ChatGPT-ness, or really how deeply enabled AI is inside the browser itself. Okay, how many awards did this show get, and how did users like it compared to critics? So this will go through the page that you have that it's essentially attached to. You'll see that it has reference to the page listed here. If you have multiple tabs open, you can add more tabs so that you can have a conversation about multiple tabs at once. And that way, only the ones that you're really saying, I want you to look at the content of this page and use it, is it actually pulling that data in. It's not watching the whole time what they've said. It's not going through and checking all of the data on all of these pages at all times. It's only when you engage it and ask for kind of interactions directly that it'll have to kind of consume the page. All right, so we're on an article and we can hit the Ask GPT button and it will pop out already attaching the page that we're on. Or there's a hotkey. If you mouse over this, you'll see that it shows up that it's Command and greater than. So if I'm down on the page, I can just pull this out or hide it with Command greater than. Simple keystroke to do that. And let's ask the question, are these the best ever? And of course, it's going to go through the page here and maybe some of its trained information, but really it's going to use the information on this page to try to answer this question. Okay, what about some super awesome, amazing, wonderful video that you might be watching? Wink. And you really just want to cut to the chase. It can look through this video, it can get the transcript from the video, and it can read through it and give you the points or whatever else you might want from it. So this is really a reasonable way to start interrogating what's going on YouTube. If you want to get the readout, you can get time codes from it, anything else. It's a really valuable way to kind of interact with YouTube and other video systems. Okay, and how about if I'm looking for something? Let's just ask what the top 3 complaints are about this. So it again can do many, many things that you might not be thinking as you're browsing the web today if you're not using AI. How about on your email? Let's say you go to the updates panel and you see a whole bunch of things in here that are kind of newsletters or something like that. And you want to unsubscribe to them. Why not pull AI open and say, give me the unsubscribed link to the top 5 items in this list? Excellent. Or how about you decided to challenge yourself to read something way above your skill level, and you decided to ask it, just like you would ChatGPT, can you create an image for me to kind of draw a diagram of what this thing is? It's full GPT. You should definitely use it. Okay, I'm going to pretend I understand that as well. And one last one that certainly makes sense to me. I do this kind of thing pretty frequently. About show me the last 3 videos I was watching on YouTube. Those kinds of things, pretty useful. Now that you have full AI in here, it can't see my YouTube watch history, so... And in fact, this is the first time I've seen this. It's actually saying if you're using the Atlas browser, I can search your browser history. Would you like me to search your browser history? And I can say, yes, please. Generally, it knows that it's using Atlas, and it just picks up and does this searching browser memories to begin with. So that's kind of interesting that it didn't know that, but it could still tell me. Okay, one that I said I was going to get back to, and I just want to call it out here just in case this is a real thing. I don't have enough experience with this browser since it's so new to really be able to tell if this is a real thing for us. But I think one of the problems that we have is you'll notice that immediately when you create a new tab, it chooses the instant model. Now, I'm not sure which model this is. I did a little digging to try to figure that out. Maybe someone else knows by now. I need to go kind of look. This feels like kind of a new variant, or it's just GPT-5 with no thinking. I'm not really sure what they're doing. It is a very fast model. It could be the GPT-5 mini model. I don't think it's nano. The results definitely don't feel tiny to me. So it's curious. The reason, though, that I want to call it out is if you start using this as your ChatGPT experience. So I'm just going to open a new tab and ask ChatGPT something that I would have asked it in the past. I would say definitely start there. It's perfectly fine. Are dogs smarter than cats? This is a no-brainer. This seems really easy. But you'll notice it did not go through any thinking. Maybe it doesn't have to for something like this. And you can, of course, still come up here and change the model. But what I want to highlight is you may be having conversations with a model that is not as sophisticated as it has been. This auto model, this is the router model. This is the one that they've said will figure out how much thinking it needs to do when you ask it a question. If you ask it one that it thinks it needs to think about on for a while, it will automatically behind the scenes pick the thinking model. Otherwise, it will pick a lighter weight model, which, by the way, may have always been the instant model. So we may just be dealing with an exposure of the model which is low thinking versus high thinking, and we can now select it. I'm not sure. We've gotten back to having more items in this drop menu than they've been trying to collapse into auto. I would say go back to auto if you're really just trying to have a conversation with ChatGPT in the way that you've had it recently. Your mileage won't vary if you do this. It'll be what you've seen before. Okay, there's another thing that they've added AI to. We've seen this a little bit from Apple and other places in the past, and they've actually added it so that it's everywhere within the browser, which is really useful because, like I said earlier, basically everything we do is in the browser. And it's really something they call cursor chat. So I have an email here that I'm writing to someone, and I thought, well, I kind of want this to feel a little bit more romantic than I'm able to put together myself. So you see, when I select it, there's this little purple dot up here. This dot is the way that I can get into ChatGPT contextually to the stuff that I have selected. And then I can say, make this email romantic. So what's happening is it's obviously having a conversation with ChatGPT with the information that you have selected. That's all that it's using. And what you get back is a result that you can just hit update and it will replace everything with. So this is a really neat little idea, but it's everywhere. So everybody sees these. These are the examples everybody shows. Let me show you an example that I think is really useful, and I've already used it a couple times. Okay, very simple. I know you probably don't know the Recraft UI. I highly advise Recraft if you haven't taken a look at it. It's just an image generation system that I use, and I have 2 empty images at this point that I'm going to ask it to create images for. And you'll notice they have the same prompt at this moment. So the first one I will kick off with my pretty poor prompt, and the second one I can select and then go into chat mode and say what changes I want. I'm creating an image from this prompt, and I really need a beautiful image prompt that creates the dynamism that I might be looking for. So in the past, what I would have done is taken my prompt, opened a new tab, gone back to ChatGPT, asked for some changes, those sorts of things, and then gotten the prompt that it created, brought it back to a system, and started generating from that. And I'm not promising that this will turn out a better image. The previous image is pretty darn good, but we got to give it a shot. Okay, good enough. In any case, you can see where you're doing prompts and other times that you might be doing meta prompting or anything like that. This cursor chat concept really has some legs that you can just bring ChatGPT up anywhere you need it suddenly that they have text. I think this is a really cool little feature that I'm going to try to use in a lot of different places. Okay, and that brings us to the final thing, which is the party trick of the whole thing. If you've heard anything about this browser, this is the thing you've heard about. And I do think it actually is very useful with the codex model that has recently been updated for computer use. I think there's some real potential here. I'm going to start on this page and say, okay, let's just click agent mode. And it comes up and says, what do we want to do today? And I can say, buy some of the craziest lollipops from Amazon that you can find. And let's see what it does. All right, starting the search Amazon, starts the candy hunt, strategize about finding the craziest lollipops. Okay, and what did it do? It popped open Amazon in a search mode, which is great. And you can see we're in that dual panel mode that we saw before. And you can see that it's opening and actually working through different tabs, basically in the background there, trying to find the craziest lollipops. I don't want 1.7 pounds of it, though. We'll see what I end up with. Hey, it's an opportunity for me to say, I'm going to purchase whatever crazy lollipops that this thing comes up with. This is a great moment to subscribe and come back later when I try one of those lollipops in a future video. Toe of Satan. I mean, I think I'll try whatever lollipops it comes up with. We'll see. No insects. No. I should have said no insects. Hey, there's a good point. So I can continue to have conversations with it. I can say no insect while it's working. And so this is an opportunity to see there's more than just allowing it to control your computer. You can see that it has this wonderful animation on how it moves around in the system. It allows you to take control when you need it and give control back when you're done. So if I wasn't already logged in, it would say, do you need to be logged in to use this, et cetera, et cetera. And now I'm kind of asking it to back up something that it already put in the cart. So whether or not it pulls one thing out of the cart and puts something else in, that's kind of interesting. But you can do this for a lot of things. You could use it for working with your Excel documents or replying to things or whatever you might like. So I really think this stuff is something for the future for us. But right now it's still in kind of developer preview. I think it's very early in its preview cycle, and they're being very careful about what it can and can't do wisely. So it's worth saying it's here. It's very neat. Give it a shot. But I don't think that's the actual value proposition of this browser. As a browser, it's kind of fantastic without this cool little trick. The world's largest lollipop. I mean, yeah, I'll try that. If we get enough subscriptions and that's what it orders for me, I won't eat the whole thing in a video, but I'll try it. Okay, so it seems like it put the flamethrower candy toe of Satan lollipop and the VAT-19 world's largest lollipop. So I'm going to be paying $35 or $40 here for lollipops. I don't even like lollipops, so this is kind of insane. But if I get over 250 subscribers on this video in the amount of time that this takes to deliver, then why not? I'll try both of them on the next video. That sounds insane enough to just try. Okay, the very last thing I want to show, super easy, I'll do it very quickly, is I want to show that if you go into the settings of the browser itself and you come down to personalization, you'll see that you have the normal memories. These are ChatGPT memories that you can see under memory, but you can also see the browser memories. This is the place that you can go through and see that what it has, what the information is that it's keeping on you about the different places that you've visited. And when you look at this browser history, it does not look like just a list of URLs, kind of the sources of browser URLs that we're used to in what we would call history traditionally. And it kind of starts to tell an interesting story of the different things that you do and how you use the system. And of course, we'll start using this ongoing to give you better and better results is, I think, the intent. So I think that's pretty interesting and it's useful to be able to do that. There's also a way in the browser here to always start an incognito browser that does not train on anything and doesn't employ any of the AI mechanisms automatically. You'll see ChatGPT won't see your incognito browser history, cookies, site data, et cetera, et cetera. That's not surprising. That needs to be there. There's also ways to say certain sites, certain domains, things like that are out of scope for any AI activities. Enterprises have the ability to do those kinds of things. So they really are trying to consider how this might be used in a real world environment. And it's kind of up to you on how comfortable you are exposing what you're maybe already, frankly, exposing to these services. But it is worth saying it's not reading every single page that you move around on the internet with. That's not its intention. Only when you pull AI forward will it need to gain context of what's on that page. And of course, at that moment, you're sending that information to the AI to train on or to see, depending upon the agreement that you have. All right, so that's kind of, they are thinking about privacy and security, but I will let you kind of dive in. Just ask ChatGPT, how's it doing it? All right, and so that's the Atlas browser from ChatGPT. I will say it is already my default browser, and they have this cool thing that you get some extra credits if you turn it into your default browser, which is kind of interesting. I like that. I would say take a look at that. But I've turned it into my default because it's already such a solid just browser. It doesn't have everything, right? I talked about the grouping tabs and a couple other things, profiles, things like that. But it does have the vast majority of what you need from any daily driver browser. And then it really adds AI in a way that I haven't seen yet, even though something like the Perplexity browser did a great job of getting pretty close to this. So I think it's a really great browser. Highly advise people go out and give it a shot. Just play with it a few times to see if you like it. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. Some people get kind of creeped out by this thing following you around. Fully understand that. I kind of live in the open with this stuff, so I feel like I may as well they already have the keys to my car. So I hope you saw something that kind of sparked interest here or you learned something. Thanks for coming along for the ride on this one, and I'll see you in the next one.